Every time a big AAA game gets cracked, the internet explodes. Some people celebrate it, some call it theft, and others immediately blame one thing: Denuvo. But this conversation is much bigger than people trying to get games for free. Behind all the memes, arguments, and comment wars, there's a question nobody really wants to answer. Why are gamers so angry in the first place? The cycle usually looks the same every time. A major game launches, players get excited, reviews start appearing. And then suddenly social media turns into a battlefield. People start saying things like "remove Denuvo," "this is destroying performance," or "I paid for the game and still got a worse experience." At that point, the discussion stops being about whether the game itself is good or bad. It turns into a fight about DRM. So what exactly is Denuvo? In simple words, it is anti-tamper technology that publishers use to slow down piracy during the launch period. For many gaming companies, the first few days or weeks are extremely important because that is when most sales happen. Their logic is straightforward: if fewer copies are distributed illegally during release, revenue is protected. Looking at it from a business perspective, it makes sense. Companies spend millions of dollars developing these games, and naturally they want protection for that investment. But this is where things start becoming complicated. A lot of players believe that DRM sometimes creates problems for legitimate customers instead of pirates. Whether it is concerns about performance, internet verification requirements, or simply the feeling that ownership is slowly disappearing, these issues create frustration. Think about it for a second. You spend money on a game, but many players no longer feel like they truly own what they bought. Instead, some feel like they are paying for temporary access. And that feeling alone is enough to upset people. Now this is the uncomfortable part, because this is where people split into completely different groups. One side argues that piracy hurts developers and damages the gaming industry. The other side says companies are becoming more restrictive and increasingly greedy. But reality is usually more complicated than either side wants to admit. Some people turn to piracy because games are too expensive in their region. Some talk about game preservation. Others say they want to test games before buying them, and yes, some simply do not want to pay at all. The problem is that all of these different reasons get thrown into one giant argument online, even though they are not the same thing. Maybe the biggest problem is not piracy itself. Maybe the bigger issue is trust. Players do not want to feel restricted after spending money, and publishers do not want to lose sales. Both sides keep pushing against each other, and every time a major game gets cracked, the same battle begins again. Not because everyone suddenly loves piracy, but because many players feel that gaming is changing, and they do not like the direction it is heading in. So at the end of the day, this debate probably is not ending anytime soon. Publishers will continue trying to protect their games. Players will continue demanding better experiences, and the arguments around DRM and piracy will keep coming back again and again. I want to know where you stand on this. Do you think anti-piracy systems are necessary? Or do you think they sometimes end up hurting legitimate customers more than the people they are meant to stop? Drop your opinion in the comments, because I'm curious to see what people actually think. If you enjoyed this video and want more gaming discussions, industry topics, and uncomfortable truths nobody wants to talk about, subscribe and stay tuned. Gaming is changing fast. The question is whether it's changing for the better.